theories of learning. In this lesson, we'll explore the major learning theories that support instruction and instructional design in e-learning. In this lesson, you will have an opportunity to reflect on the theories and determine which ones you lean toward as an instructor or instructional designer. After you have viewed all this week's presentations and completed the other requirements of the week, you will be able to describe the major learning theories in current practice, including strengths and weaknesses. Given a topic, choose a learning theory and describe how you could apply the theory to effectively teach the topic. And explain the difference between instructional methods and instructional media. So let's get started. So why should we care about theories of learning? A number of theories of learning have been espoused over time, particularly in the late 20th century. These theories underpin why certain classroom activities are chosen over others, why instructors and instructional designers choose the methods they do, and even sometimes why certain projects receive funding and why others don't. It's important as an instructor or instructional designer that you know the basic tenets of these theories, and more importantly, that you think through your own position on them. The theories we'll explore apply to all kinds of learning, whether traditional classroom-based learning or e-learning. Because e-learning is unique in many ways, it is important to think through how the theories adapt and best apply for successful e-learning. While there are certainly dozens of learning theories, we will focus on three that have driven education and training in the modern age. They are behaviorism, cognitivism, and constructivism. The first theory, behaviorism, is based on stimulus-response theories that define learning as the association between a particular stimulus and a particular response. The focus is on observable behavior. By using proper reinforcement in a learning environment, a change of behavior is produced. This is the earliest of the theories and found favor in the 1950s. A more recent 1970s outgrowth of this theory is criterion referenced instruction espoused by Robert Mager. We will look at some of Mager's tools and techniques in a later lesson. Criterion reference instruction has strong connections to behaviorism. Not really a theory itself, it's more design methodology for developing training programs. Critical aspects of CRI include goal and task analysis to identify what needs to be learned, performance objectives, which are exact specifications of the outcomes to be accomplished and how they are to be evaluated, criterion reference testing, evaluation of learning in terms of the knowledge and skills specified in the objectives, and development of the learning modules tied to the specific objectives. We will spend time focusing on many of these aspects in weeks 2 and 3. The next theory, cognitivism, found favor in the 1980s and 1990s. As a reaction to behaviorism, cognitivism focuses on how humans learn, that is, the process of learning or what actually happens in the human brain. We will look at a fair amount of cognitive tools and techniques. Your textbook author, Ruth Clark, is grounded in this theory, as is your instructor, me. Ruth and I went to USC during the same time and received advanced degrees from the Education Department. I've come to lean toward cognitivist thought because it seems to resonate with my experience and observations about learning and teaching. Ruth Clark bases some of her work on David Merrill's component display theory. We'll be using Clark's framework from this theory called content performance matrix. The component display theory by Merrill is rooted in cognitivism. The theory focuses on classifying learning along two dimensions, content and performance. It emphasizes the most optimal ways to present information so that the learner has an effective learning experience. We will look more carefully at this content performance matrix on which to base learning, and specifically e-learning, design in weeks 4 and 5. Many chapters of your textbook are based on this content performance matrix and its use. The third theory, constructivism, from the 1980s and following grew out of a reaction to behaviorism's didactic approach. It asserts that knowledge is something that the learner constructs based on prior knowledge, and that instruction should assist the learner in that construction of knowledge. A key concept also is that learning is a social phenomenon. You will have an opportunity to explore these three theories in greater detail. Once you've done so, which theory should you align with? Well, it's ultimately up to you, and you will decide based on your background, your present learning, and the experience you gain as you practice instruction or instructional design. When you design a module or an e-learning lesson, you will make design decisions based on the theory or theories you believe in. Ruth Clark has determined that there are 4 design architectures of learning. These architectures are aligned with the theories of behaviorism, cognitivism, and constructivism. These architectures have been and are used extensively in e-learning. They are not necessarily pure, nor do they necessarily stand alone without other influences. Sometimes they are used in combination or hybrid form. Please read further about them in your assignment. Then reflect on which theory underpins each architecture. You'll have an opportunity to choose an architecture in a proposed e-learning module. In this lesson, we've looked at some of the learning theories. You've had an opportunity to reflect on the theories and which ones you align with or relate to as an instructor or an instructional designer. As a follow-up, now go to the course shell in Moodle and do the items in this week's activities, week 1. Also look under resources for articles and links that provide more in-depth information about this week's topics. Look in the discussions forum for this week's questions. Please post to the discussions by offering your responses to the questions and also your responses to your fellow classmates' posts.